The winds howled through the desolate streets of the small town, carrying with them an eerie sense of foreboding. The clouds gathered overhead, blotting out the moon's feeble attempts to illuminate the world below. In the heart of the town stood a looming structure, a hospital Ravenscroft Sanatorium, located in the mist-shrouded state of New Hampshire, with a dark history that had long been abandoned by the living. The townsfolk whispered of the hospital's gruesome past, of experiments gone wrong, and patients driven mad. It was said that the spirits of the tortured souls still lingered within its decaying walls, seeking revenge on anyone who dared to enter. But there was one man who remained unaffected by the warnings, a man named Thomas Blackwood. Thomas, a middle-aged writer with a penchant for the macabre, had long been fascinated by the hospital's dark reputation. Determined to unravel its secrets, he delved into its grim history, scouring through old records and speaking to the few remaining survivors. With each piece of information he unearthed, his curiosity grew, fueling his desire to experience the hospital's horrors firsthand. On a cold, moonless night, Thomas made his way through the rusted gates of the hospital. The air was heavy with a damp, musty odor, and the darkness seemed to cling to him like a shroud. As he stepped into the main entrance, a heavy iron door creaked shut behind him, sealing his fate. Unfazed by the eerie silence that enveloped him, Thomas pressed on, guided by a flickering flashlight. The corridors stretched out before him like a labyrinth, their peeling wallpaper and cracked tiles bearing witness to the decay that had consumed the place. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls, haunting murmurs that chilled him to the bone. Room after room, Thomas ventured deeper into the hospital's abyss, uncovering the remnants of long-forgotten horrors. The walls bore the scratches of desperate souls, and the flickering lights cast eerie shadows that danced along the floor. But it was in the basement that he discovered the true extent of the hospital's darkness. Descending into the depths, Thomas found himself in a room that appeared to be a makeshift operating theater. Blood-stained tools lay scattered across the floor, and a putrid odor hung heavy in the air. Curiosity overcame caution as he approached an old operating table, its surface stained with the remnants of unspeakable acts. Suddenly, the door to the room slammed shut with a resounding thud, trapping Thomas inside. Panic welled up within him as he pounded on the door, desperate for escape, but his pleas for help echoed through the empty corridors, unanswered by the spirits that dwelled within. Days turned into nights, and Thomas was consumed by a maddening solitude. Shadows danced and whispered around him, and phantom footsteps echoed through the halls. He could hear the tortured cries of the hospital's former patients, their agonized wails clawing at his sanity. Haunted by nightmares and plagued by hallucinations, Thomas's mind began to unravel. He saw apparitions of doctors performing grotesque experiments, their faces twisted in sadistic glee. The walls oozed with blood, and the air grew thick with the stench of decay. Reality and delusion merged into a terrifying blur, driving him to the edge of insanity. As the weeks stretched into months, Thomas's desperate will to survive ignited a flicker of determination within him. He refused to become another victim of the hospital's grip. With renewed resolve, he began exploring every nook and cranny, searching for a way out. One night, as he stumbled upon a hidden passage concealed behind a crumbling wall, Thomas's heart raced with newfound hope. He cautiously followed the winding tunnel, his flashlight casting eerie shadows along the damp stone walls. The air grew colder, and the whispers of the spirits seemed to grow louder, urging him to turn back. Ignoring the sinister voices, Thomas emerged into a forgotten wing of the hospital, a labyrinth of narrow hallways that seemed to twist and shift like a living entity. The echoes of his footsteps were drowned out by distant screams that echoed through the corridors, tormenting his senses. Suddenly he heard a guttural growl behind him, followed by the scraping of claws against the floor. Thomas spun around, his heart pounding in his chest. Emerging from the shadows was a grotesque creature, its features distorted and twisted, a product of the hospital's dark experiments. With razor-sharp teeth and elongated limbs, it lunged toward him, hunger gleaming in its eyes. Fear surged through Thomas's veins as he dodged the creature's relentless attacks. Adrenaline coursed through his body, fueling his instincts for survival. With each narrow escape, he grew more determined to find a way out of this living nightmare. Finally, in a stroke of luck, Thomas stumbled upon a heavy iron door, its surface etched with strange symbols. With all his strength, he forced the door open, revealing a moonlit courtyard bathed in an otherworldly glow. Salvation seemed within reach. But as Thomas stepped into the courtyard, the atmosphere shifted. The wind howled, carrying the voices of the tormented souls that resided within the hospital. The ground beneath him quaked, threatening to swallow him whole. Desperation fueled his every step as he sprinted toward the iron gates that stood between him and freedom. With a final burst of determination, Thomas pushed through the gates, leaving the cursed hospital behind. He collapsed onto the cold, unforgiving ground, gasping for breath. The moon's gentle glow washed over him, a comforting embrace after his harrowing ordeal. As Thomas reflected on his journey, he realized the hospital's evil had not been defeated. It had merely released him, knowing that the darkness had found a new host. The horrors he had witnessed would forever haunt his dreams, a constant reminder of the twisted depths humanity was capable of sinking to. From that day forward, Thomas carried the weight of the hospital's legacy, forever scarred by the echoes of suffering. He dedicated his life to exposing the truth, writing stories that forced readers to confront their deepest fears. In his tales, he wove fragments of his own experiences, hoping to protect others from the allure of the darkness that still lingered within the abandoned hospital. And so, Thomas Blackwood's name became synonymous with the chilling tale of the hospital, a warning etched into the annals of horror literature. His escape, though fraught with terror and despair, had given birth to a legacy of caution and dread, a legacy that would endure long after his own journey had come to an end.